Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Fear not. We've got the Valley's top matchmaker right here. What does it take to find the right mate? That's today's Joe Knows Better. I'm Joe Ducey with the Better Business Bureau. We have with us Roseann Higgins, who is the founder and the owner of SPIES, Single Professional Introductions for the Especially Selective. Good to be here.
Thanks.
I'm glad you're here.
I'm so excited you're here.
Well, that's great. You may not be after all the questions I'm going to be asking you and all. It's all good stuff. And Tiara Terry's here with the Better Business Bureau. Thanks for being part of this.
Of course.
Yeah. So we've talked about before. We're going to talk a little bit about your life, and maybe have Roseann kind of look at. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm
look
ready.
at you. Okay. Good. All right. So many questions. First of all, how long have you been doing this, and why did you start this?
I was in the Navy a long time, and when I was in the reserve, a guy who'd been an Entrepreneur of the Year said, you should be doing something, bringing people together, because you meet people all the time. And I'm like, what? And if you had told me in the Navy I would ever do this for a living and get paid to introduce my friends, I would have said, you're crazy. And to do it for 30 years, I would just...
30 years?
Yeah, 30 years. We're doing a countdown to 30. June 21st is the 23rd anniversary. The 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the Navy, I didn't know I'd be in for more than 4 years, and I was in for 16 with my reserve time. But the Navy taught me skills. It honed my skills to meet people everywhere, because every time you get a new duty station, you don't know anybody. You start from zero again and again and again, 17 times. And that's how many places they sent me to. And I had introduced a couple in New Orleans on purpose. Sometimes I just introduce my friends, because I think people have something amazing about them every time I meet them, and I just am here to find out what it is. And it's just a blast. Like Tiara here, I've adored her since I met her at the front desk many years ago, and I can't believe she's sitting next to me today. And I love you.
That's great. Well, see, that was meant to be.
Yeah.
That I asked you to be part of that, and you agreed, and that you didn't even know, I think, that Tiara was going to be part of it. Yeah.
No, and I loved it when she was getting her graduate degree. Yeah. I'm like, damn, you go, girl.
Yeah. Well, let's talk. Okay, so many questions I have for you. So you're in the Navy. Right. Now, why'd you go to the Navy? Did you decide?
I was here in Phoenix, and somebody suggested I join the military, and I thought they were crazy, but they said, think about it. You could travel the world. You could get educational benefits. I had no money. I moved out in the middle of my junior year of high school and had been supporting myself. We didn't have a car because my parents were blind and legally blind. I had no exposure to anything. So this seemed like a thrilling adventure. And I always loved the water. And the Navy always had beaches.
What year did it start? How old were you?
Well, this is going to...
Not year, but how old were you at the time?
I don't mind. I turned 19 in boot camp. Okay,
19. So you kind of grew up, really, a lot of with the Navy.
I grew up before it because I was having to pay my own bills and I didn't have anybody supporting me. But I got to live in Spain for 3 years from the age of 19 to 22. Yeah. And that was heaven. It was glorious. It was a really fortunate opportunity. And I still get medical coverage through the VA.
Yeah.
And I got to be on the inaugural committee for President Bush and Vice President Quayle, and just so many assignments and so many great people along the way that helped me have more confidence in myself, because you have to make friends everywhere.
And that's what it took. You think
achieve.
That's kind of where you gained your confidence, you think, was in the Navy, and enough to be able to go into a business like this?
You're forced to either be a loner, or you get out there and you just make new friends. And anybody who's willing to leave everything and go join the military and go from place to place where they don't know anybody and they get trained for something they've never done before, that's a risk taker. That's the type of person who hires me. The best person is that person who says, wait a minute, you can hire somebody and they go out to events and I don't have to go approach beautiful women that I'd love to date, and they'll find out all the information, and I don't get any rejections, and I don't have to be the 50th guy to hit on her today because I want the girl that everybody wants, Yeah.
So when you were in the Navy, were you thinking about this? Well, let me ask you, not at all. You had other things to think about.
No, I was introducing, like I had a newscaster marry a Navy diver, and I met her because after college classes at night, I was at Peddler's Alley in Panama City Beach, Florida, and she was a newscaster there. He was a Navy diving Navy diver guy that I knew. The divers are always hot body guys, and because they're constantly physically training and they have to do underwater diving.
Right.
And I was at their base, so we would hang out together. And they lived on the beach. And I said, "Hey, Roxann, Sue, who worked at the
TV station,
Panama City newspaper,
Okay.
and Herald." And they're like, "Yeah, we're going to meet guys that we never met, and they're going to be handsome guys who are fun." Yeah.
Was that your first one that you think set up? Did you think
I
about
wasn't
that?
trying
Right.
to make them a match. I just happened to draw in good people. People who are drawn to you tend to be like you. So it's a compliment to me that a newscaster would like me, because I adored her. And he and his buddies were just great guys that I adored too, because they chose to serve the Navy and get trained to do something risky, and they both are out of the boxers that would never meet each other unless somebody said, hey, come on over.
So it's something you saw in them, not just that you liked them.
Well,
but there was something.
I didn't
Or
scientifically
you weren't
try
there,
to do that yet.
You weren't there yet.
No.
Yeah.
I was like,
Wow.
when they said they were getting married and invited me to the wedding in Huntsville, Alabama, I was like, well, isn't that amazing? And then they got married and had 4 boys.
Wow.
But in New Orleans, I did it on purpose.
Okay.
When I was there for a 2-week school, it was our last night. And I said to Jane, and I've told this story on different podcasts, what do you think of Richard? Oh, I think he's handsome, but I don't think he's interested in me. And I'm like the wingman. This is my wingman moment for real. And I'm like, I'll be right back. And I go over to Richard. What do you think of Jane? Oh, I think she's lovely, but I'm probably too old for her. I'm like, how old are you? He tells me his age. I go back to, I said, I'll be right back. I go, Jane, what do you think? He says he thinks he's too old. He's 42. And she says, that's not too old. I'm like, I'll be right back. Yeah. And so he said, well, it's too late. It's our last night. I'm like, it's never too late. As long as you're here and she's here, you're within 10 feet of each other. When are you going to have that proximity? Proximity is a huge thing that I wish more people would take advantage of. When somebody's right in front of you and you're not the guy who goes up to all the girls and you're the girl who's never getting hit on by quality guys, take advantage of that next moment when something magical could be right in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Just get it together, get out there, and some guys aren't like that, and some girls aren't like that. Don't have the confidence, maybe. But we'll talk about
confidence.
that. Well,
it's just their game,
you don't think?
Their life. They're just not the guy who goes up to, girls. They don't want to. One guy told me he doesn't want to be the 21st guy to hit on her today, and plus he doesn't know anything about her.
Does that make him more special to you, though, that he is not the guy who wants to go up, or no?
It's not about whether he's not the guy.
That he's kind of got a set of rules. He's like, I don't want to be the 21st guy.
If he's so comfortable going up to girl after girl after girl, why hasn't he landed on one of them? That would be my question. If he hasn't landed on any of the girls that he's so comfortable approaching,
Oh, I see. I thought
maybe he's not relationship ready.
I thought you meant he was a guy who wouldn't go up to girls because he thought the girl had been hit on by other guys so many times. I'm not going to do that.
He doesn't. He's not that guy. Correct. Yeah, he's not the player guy. He's not the douchey guy.
Yeah, and there are certain women who are attracted, I guess, to those guys as well, right? Not just the
the
old
player
birds.
guys are attractive. I remember I had a guy who was an all-American guy, and I had a girl say, I'm tired of the bad boys. For sure, I want to go out with a good guy this time. And I'm like, I've got an all-American guy. I got to show him to you. But what I found is he had a picture of him and his buddies, and one of his buddies had spiked blonde hair, tan, tone, looked like a surfer, bad boy, underemployed, next to him in a suit and tie. He looks like the really good guy, straight and narrow. And she's like, what about him?
Well, the other
and
guy.
I'm like,
the guy with the hair and the
yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, remember, I put my hand covering that guy's face. I'm like, you said no more bad boys.
Yeah, okay.
What happened to that?
Yeah.
And it's hard to resist, chemistry.
Yeah. All right. Now, people may be thinking, and you may get this sometimes, like, how legitimate is this? I want to say you are a Better Business Bureau accredited business. You've been voted best in matchmaker in the Valley. In fact, We just got this. I don't know if it's anything I can be able to see that on here, but yeah, Best Matchmaker, Roseann Higgins. That's this year.
Yeah.
EspeciallySelective.com. That's your website.
Yep, EspeciallySelective.com.
Just came out, so you've been voted again.
And I have to thank AZ Foothills Magazine.
Okay.
They have been so good to have this competition. They get thousands of people voting, and it's a way for people who can actually support my company and help me succeed without going on television to do it. So.
Yeah. All right. And I also read on your website you have percentages. 95% of spies, which is your business, first dates want second dates.
Yes, it's probably more than that because we do so much due diligence in advance. Like if you're not attracted to each other, like I just had a girl turn down a guy because she doesn't want a guy who's more than 5 years older. And usually guys are open to somebody up to 10 or 15 years younger.
Yeah.
And so
I'm going to ask you about that. Okay. Let's get you involved, Tiara. So I don't know how much you want to go into your dating history. You don't have to, but you're looking now, you said, right?
Yeah, I'm on Hinge.
You're open anyway to the idea.
Yes,
okay.
I am.
You're on Hinge.
I am.
All right. And what's Hinge is a website for connecting.
Well, it's a dating app. It's a really cool dating app where you're able to put all of your likes, your adventures. There's pictures of you, your age, your zodiac sign, all of that good stuff. So,
what kind of guys are you hearing from? I mean, do you hear from guys that you just know are not going to be the guy, and are there just a few of the others, or what's the kind of the ratio?
Yeah, so some of the responses that I get are, well.
So you can say right here, hey, actually, we're not on any broadcast.
Some of the responses are more on the drier side, and then there's some responses that are people who are really engaged, who want to take you out on a date or they want to get to know you, and then some are like, hey. How am I supposed to respond to that?
Just
sir?
hey?
Just hey.
How many hays can they write in 5 minutes?
Right.
Hey.
Exactly. So it's
you up?
Yeah, I just kind of.
No, I mean like how many women?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So the more engaged ones, and then some that are not so much engaged.
Okay. So can you tell kind of right away, based on? I guess that's hard to do though, based on a text message, right? Do you? I mean, what would be something that they would say that you'd be like, this is interesting or different?
Maybe like start off with, I love pickup lines, but good ones though.
Okay.
So,
what's a good pickup line?
Or something, I don't know. Not offhand.
Roseann, what's a good pickup line?
Right. So. Or something that they saw something on my profile that they're interested in and they actually started a conversation on it. So they saw something that I was interested in and kind of built a conversation off of it.
Okay.
So then we can
talk.
talk.
That's the smart move.
Yeah, and then we can talk and then we build conversation from there, which I really enjoy.
Now, have you gone out with any of these people?
Yeah.
And have they been the people who you thought they were? First of all, the picture. Is it from 10 years ago, or is it the picture that of who they are now?
Luckily, the majority of people, they do look exactly like their pictures.
Okay.
So that's not the problem. But yeah, I think... we
won't mention any specific people. If they're listening, we don't know who that is, right? Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I have gone on a couple dates.
Yeah.
The people do look like their pictures, but it's usually hit or miss with the conversation in person. So they're not like how they are online. Either they're shy at first or they were just trying to get a date.
Do you like shy guys, or does it matter? Does it just depend on, do you feel something when you see them?
Yeah, I think it's just the natural attraction that's there. Not even just the physical attraction, just more of I don't like to use the word vibe, but it is the vibe. Yeah. It is.
I understand. I think people understand that too. I know it's been overused, but I think people understand vibe.
I never thought of that. What you're saying is they were a better closer to get the date, but then they lost their game when they arrived.
Right. Exactly. She knows exactly.
She's great.
What I'm talking about.
Exactly. Lost their game when they arrived. Okay.
Or they'd never had it.
Or they didn't. Okay.
The game ended.
Listen. Can people without game still have dates that are successful? What do you see?
They have to be.
And what is game? We'll go into that in a minute, but go ahead.
I remember a guy was struggling with conversation with me, and he really had never dated. And if a guy is at the top of his income level, he's making in the multiple six figures at 30 years old, a girl that he would be drawn to expects him to be engaging, expects him. I mean, if he's able to achieve success in business, why not be able to have a fluid conversation in person? So I said, I think that maybe taking college courses would be a good idea for you. Go back and just interact with people that are closer to your age, and just start making friends and develop the muscle. Because a girl who you want to end up with, because he's visual just like anybody else. He wants the best girl just like everybody else his age who's a go-getter. But if he can't sustain a conversation and have confidence, what's he going to do when things happen and the girl needs him? You know, she needs a confident man who can deal with what comes up in life.
So some people, okay. So who typically is your client, and how do you find them?
My men clients have ranged from 25 to 68.
Okay.
Right now, there's this incredibly eligible 68-year-old, and you would never guess he's 68, and he's handsome and fit and articulate. We spoke for more than an hour last night, and he was celebrating something, and so I wanted to be there to support him. Yeah. He's got great blue eyes. He's inviting. He's interesting. He's staying at a cool hotel in California right now, just enjoying life. And he saw Brad Pitt in the bar.
You do really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not working with guys who can't get dates.
Yeah.
I'm working with guys and he said Brad Pitt did like a shooting a gun at him,
wow.
Kind of a thing. And I'm like, how cool is that? You know?
So, all right. So he's 68, and but what's your main?
Most
like 40s,
guys are
50s?
30s and 40s and early 50s, just because the number of guys in relationships is proportionate to that. And there are more guys that decide they're ready to have a family in their 30s when they finally get done with all the playing and they know what they want and they have experienced what they don't want, or they're when they get closer to 40, sometimes they've gotten a divorce already, or mid 40s. And then 50s, it's a fewer number than there were, just because most guys that are happily married stay happily married.
Have you seen the ages? You've done this 30 years. Have you seen the ages shift a bit, or have they always been about that? Have they been older and older, where people are kind of looking for this and want to play more in their 30s, or no?
I used to not encourage people over 55 until I found out that there were women who would date them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that because you wouldn't possibly find women for them?
Yeah. I remember I tried to get a girl a date back in year one. And she wasn't as fit as she used to be, even though she was a dance instructor. And I couldn't for the life of me get a guy to say yes. And I was just really dismayed at how visual men are. But I've learned that if they really take good care of themselves, they go to the gym, they hike, they bike, whatever it is they do to keep in shape, they want a similar lifestyle.
Yeah. So was that a surprise for you?
Oh, I never knew. I never knew that if I bend over to pick up something off the floor, that somebody is checking out my butt. I didn't get that.
Maybe multiple people.
I
don't know.
I don't know, but I remember feeling the eyes on me more after I started this.
Oh.
Yeah, and if a guy can't see you have a waistline, he doesn't believe you have a waistline.
Is there hope, do you think, and you're going to be honest with me from what you've seen, but is there hope for people who may not have the looks, maybe over the ideal weight, and
there is.
But
they
who
just
are
have
good
to do
people?
It differently.
Who are good people, who have strong values, who have good personalities. What?
Yeah. If you call somebody who's a headhunter, like me, or a matchmaker, you want them to ask you all the tough questions. And if a guy is 5'7", one of my first clients was 5'4", and I took him on, not knowing how many no's I was going to be barraged with.
Because he's 5'4".
Yeah. I mean, girls want a guy who's taller than them. One girl who was 5'2" said a guy had to be at least 6'2". I'm like, are you serious?
How many guys do you mean are taller than
inches? You? You are? How tall are you?
Well, it's 6'2", but
I know you're off the market, but if you got any friends, Joe Ducey, this is how I do it. Birds of a feather. You're a good-looking, fit, tall guy with his hair who's got a great smile, articulate, on camera, great resume, fun.
Kathy, listen to this.
Yeah. Hi, Kathy.
They're still hang on to me finally. Man, I'm blushing. Whew, I need color anyway. So the guys, they're your clients mostly, and you say they're probably mostly in 30s, 40s, 50s.
I do have a Christian girl who owns a group home, who wants a Harley riding Christian who may
A Harley riding Christian.
Yes, because one of her best dates ever was going riding up to Sedona on the back of a motorcycle, and it felt adventurous. Wind through her hair. The guy was hot enough to be able to hold up a motorcycle. Because you got to be strong. So
there's the infatuation phase. It seems like you've gotten people to go through that because your divorce rate's very low, 4% I think is what it was.
Yeah.
And you've met a lot of couples have stayed together.
Attraction's just step one.
Is that the
guys can find hot girls without my help?
Is that the
they can give them half their stuff, a couple years later because they didn't go further in the decision.
Okay. And further in decision, what are the characteristics that are important? That would have to go beyond, I think, some of the superficial stuff.
It's how do you raise your children? I had one couple meet, and he said that she was too free with her kids and gave them too much decision autonomy. And he's like, my children don't do that. They have rules.
So they were from other marriages before.
Yes,
and
yes.
They met, okay.
And so I want to ask, how do you feel about somebody who has children? And I find out, like one guy lets his kids hoverboard in the kitchen. Some girls wouldn't be okay with that, but I found a girl who sent me a picture of her kids. They used a hoverboard and hooked it up to a garbage bin and rolled it down the driveway to take the garbage to the curb. I'm like, that's my girl. Besides her being a hot, beautiful blonde. Oh, and she loves boating, and he loves boating, and he's got a paradise of a backyard with a pool with a slide in it. And
okay. Remind me, I want to get all this in because I do want to go back to dating online and all with you as well. But I also wanted to ask you something before I forgot, and I think I've forgotten it. It is, your clients. So do you find your clients are men, and you find women for them? Are the clients typically looking for younger women, and how young? Are they looking 20 years younger? What are they? Is it the stereotype?
Usually it's within their age to 10 years younger. I have a 62-year-old man who is just a winner. He retired. He had 700 employees, and he's still learning and having fun and taking classes on music and fishing in exotic places with the guys. And he's a man's man. And he's willing to date because there are women who are taking really good care of themselves that are 60 years old these days. I also introduced him to a 49-year-old because she was open to dating somebody who he's not his age. He's not an old 62.
Do you get the stereotype is a 60-year-old guy looking for a 30-year-old woman?
I get requests for that, but I tell them what I hear from the 30-year-olds. So you want the attractive ones that everybody else wants, right? Like the guys that are 28 this year that they want to hit on her. You want that same girl that they want. Most of those girls tell me they don't want to go out with somebody older than their father and see them naked ever.
Okay. Well, that's an image. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. I get it.
I'm serious. Yeah. I'm like, who wants to go out with their father?
Where do you find, so you have the guys coming to you, they pay you a fee. I don't know how much that is, but it's something based. Is it the same fee or is it based on any?
Right now I charge $20,000 plus a finder's fee of $20, but I know that in some of the big cities they're charging $50 to $150. Okay. And I believe that I can head that direction. My clients are telling me I should be charging more.
And you don't give up. I mean, you get them.
I'm getting them first in line to women if it's doable. The guys have to be kissable.
Okay.
So just because he has the money, he can't hand it to me and run.
They must have a mouth and lips. What else?
But they have to have a kissable mouth and lips and straight white teeth like you.
Oh, okay. So if they don't, though, I mean, you still. No. I mean, they can. There's love for these people.
There is. There absolutely is. But if they want to pay money to somebody, and I show a picture, if you're going online, you're paying money.
Do you ever turn people down?
Yes.
Who say, and you're just like, listen, I'm sorry. How do you tell people that you're not for them?
I tell them I'll take their information. And if the right person lands in my lap, I will call you and yank that check out of your wallet in a heartbeat.
That's very good. That's very good. So you let them down, but in a way that's
well, if
tolerable.
It can be done. Like I had a guy 5'7.5" who wanted to hire me, and he was referred by a girl he bought his car for full cash at the Mercedes dealership. And he had traded in a Mini Cooper, which I thought was really kind of fun. And she had fallen in love with an Austrian guy I introduced her to, and she was telling everybody about me and him more. Yeah. And she sends him to me, and I don't know he's a hottie. I don't know he's got chiseled pecs and chiseled cheekbones and olive skin that white teeth pop, and he had spiked black hair, and his hair was at least this high. And I'm like, from now on, you're 5'8". But I said, before I let you hire me, there's a girl I have in mind. I haven't even seen his pictures. I don't even know he's a hottie.
Yeah.
But he was from Singapore, and he had an Australian accent. He was raised by his grandparents in Australia. And I had to say what, and he had to repeat himself a lot because I wasn't used to Australian speak.
I just saw you wanted to hear him talk.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, yeah.
That was pretty good.
And then I said, let me call you back. I've got a girl in mind. If she says she would say yes, that means they exist. If they exist, I will let you pay money.
Okay.
So I called
so
her up and I said, hey, I have a guy. Would you ever date a guy who's Asian? She says, I have no problem with that. Okay, he's 5'7.5". She says, Roseann, I'm only 5'4". I have no problem with that.
Okay.
So I have a surgeon right now who's 5'9". So if any girls are open to a guy 5'9" who's incredible and handsome and giving, he just wants a nice girl.
You know where to get, especiallyselective.com. Hey, the women, where do you find the
Everywhere.
ladies?
It's a good question.
Do you go out and
I go up
bars?
to-
Do you go to?
No, I've been up to 5 events in one day. There's
How do you approach these people?
just like I would if
Hey,
I wanted to say hi to anybody. But like one girl was running up a hill when I was hiking the back trails of Squaw Peak, Piestewa Peak, and she ran into a picture I was taking, and I'm like, wow, she looks like Wonder Woman. And I see her at the bottom of the hill, and I said, you might want to see this picture. You ran into it while I was taking it, and I see that she looks young, and I had a 25-year-old at the time who was making $10,000 a month, no, $100,000 a month. I don't know. He was making 7 figures a year, and he was a Christian and an athlete. And she was athletic running up this. I said, you look young. How old are you? She said, 22. I said, are you Christian? She reaches down to her sock and she lowers her sock to show me a Christian tattoo at her ankle. And I'm like, are you single? She says, wait a minute. Who are you?
Are you thinking ka-ching?
No. No. Oh, yeah, I'm like, oh, my God, nailed it for him.
Right.
And then she's like, who are you? And I said, Roseann Higgins. And she said, do you know so-and-so? And I said, yes. She said, he's my dad. And I've never seen my dad this happy his entire life.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And I did that.
Yeah, okay, that's very cool.
So where I find her, she was on the trail. It could be at a restaurant. It could be at business, charity, and social events. I've been to thousands of them.
What if Roseann came up to you? You didn't know her.
BBB events.
I know, but what if she came up? You didn't know her, but she was a matchmaker. What would go through your head, Kira?
Be honest.
I would be very intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's very approachable and has great conversation.
And you don't pay as the lady, correct? As a woman?
Currently, right.
You're not paying, okay.
Right.
Yeah, and so you would think, hey, if there's somebody, why not?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I wouldn't see. She's looking at me like she's
Now, when you
She's
look at
never said this to me in person, Joe.
when you look at Tiara, what would
Yeah.
you who would you think? You know a little bit about her.
Oh, I
Who-
don't try to guess. I mean,
Okay.
she's tall. That would be the first thing. So he's got to be at least as tall as she is. How
So
tall are you?
that's important, huh?
5'10".
Yeah.
Now, would you date anybody who's smaller than you in stature, or no?
Yeah, I'm not super picky. So like
Yeah, you are. You're single.
I know, but no, I learned my lessons. I think that's why I'm single.
Okay.
I learned my lessons. So, but yeah, no, I'm not.
If it was the right person, they were 5'6", 7", to be.
Yeah, as long
Fine.
as he's okay with me wearing heels, because I wear heels all the time.
Okay. He'd have to too, though. That's the only thing.
That's a big gap. A
or
6-inch gap is a lot for a guy.
So you would have trouble maybe if she. Well, I guess that if she said, "Oh well," what are there people you find that you're like, wow, who might be these things like 5'10" and want somebody who's smaller who come to you and. I guess for you, it's the guy though, right? So if there's a guy, does a guy ever say, "I'd like a taller woman"?
Once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah, or they're just open to it.
Okay.
But
Open to it.
pretty much they want to feel like the man.
Yeah. So when you go up to women, like say you go up to Tiara, what would you say to Tiara?
Oh,
Not knowing her,
not knowing her? I'm like,
but you have somebody who might be perfect for her.
I would say, I love your smile. You have the most engaging way with everybody I've seen you interact with at all the events I've been to. And I love your hair, girlfriend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So is that you kind of engage with the woman?
Yeah, and we just talk like normal people. And then she might say, I tried Hinge. And I'm like, okay, so how come you're not off the market yet? What happened? And what do you want? And I'd love to know you better in case one of my guys wants you.
And when you go up to somebody, you say you didn't know her, this other person, do you say you're a matchmaker right away? Do you say,
Oh,
hi?
yeah, I'm honest about it.
Yeah, you just say-
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Because
say
it's kind of fun, for most people. And if you're a perfect match for one of my guys, you don't have to pay a fee to meet him right now because I'm a romance headhunter. I'm the only one in America.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So being approached, one girl, she spread it out to people. It's a thing to be approached by Roseann Higgins. And a guy at Zufari said I was being whispered about in all the right places. So I go to these charity events and my guys are not going on ABC 15 every day, although they did a great story on Arizona short stories, I think it was. One of the best stories ever, I'd say, for your predecessor.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, many years there. And that brings us to, we'd had some romance scams that have been coming up. And I know people fall for those things. And I'm not going to go into this because we don't have a lot of time, but there's one that we came to the Better Business Bureau about, a woman who met somebody on Tinder, didn't ever definitely talked, but didn't meet them in person. And they're supposed to be in another country, whatever. Anyway, the guy in the other country is talking about having to get money from her so that he can get more money. He just needs it for a small period of time. She ends up sending him money. And she says at this point, we were basically talking about engagement and wedding. It seems, never.
And they never met?
Never talked. Never saw the person.
It's insane.
And you're saying seeing is like a real part of this.
Well, your relationship doesn't begin until you're looking at each other in the eyes. You can watch each other's lips move when you talk. I tell people don't spend too much time on the phone. Your in-person time should exceed your phone time. Okay. And these days with the apps, you can have an entire relationship, have a 6-hour phone call with somebody and find out something by the end of it that makes you go, okay, I don't want this person. So you kind of have this circular relationship pattern where you just do it again and again. And the person who's asking, anybody who asks for money before you meet, run for the hills. Okay.
All right. Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to say that. Tara, now you use the apps. I mean, that's the way you find that's the way people date now.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty much the majority of my friends were either on an app or are currently.
What would you say to people? Do you see this kind of stuff every now and then? Do you get hooked by guys like, hey, I'd really like to, whatever it is, and send? Okay. You got to the point where it's been money?
Well, there are profiles on certain dating apps that you can tell are scams.
Okay.
So by their pictures, by the information that's on there, and they'll put like their Cash App and things like that because there's no reason for your Cash App to be on your Hinge.
Get out.
It's pretty interesting.
So do they think, is it like a what do you call it, thirst trapping?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
How has thirst trapping, is that what they call it?
Yeah. They do it on Instagram all the time. Hot girls with very little on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's like, all right.
Yeah, over the top. I don't want those girls. Those girls who are willing to have their bodies in front of everybody in their bikinis that they've never met, that's a girl advertising to everybody.
Okay.
And my guys want somebody to be theirs.
Okay.
Yeah,
unless they want the girl that everybody else wants.
Well, they want the girl everybody else wants, but they don't want her putting it on Instagram.
Yeah, I get it. So what would you? How have the apps? You've been doing 30 years. The apps weren't around when you began. How has that changed what you do?
Acceptability of dating with help and being willing to share your private information that nobody's ever asked you about. Even your best friends don't know you as well as I do. People tell me.
Interesting.
Nobody's asked
you spend
me all these
time
questions.
with.
I do at least a 2-hour interview for every client that hires me because I have to know, and I get pictures of their exes. What's your pattern been? Okay. Although one guy, I had a lineup of women that met all his criteria, and he says, "I guess I forgot to tell you something." And I'm like looking at them, thinking, "What could they have in common that he didn't tell me?" He says, "I prefer brunettes," and I'm like, looking, every single one is a blonde. In Arizona, Christina Wofford, who used to be at Channel 5, I adored that woman. She said that if you're not blonde when you come to Arizona, you soon will be.
Funny.
But she stayed brunette, which I props to her because she's gorgeous.
So you do some background on the people. Do you go to their house? Do you go that far, see what they're wearing? No?
Some of them I go to their house, but they're not dating the house. So I don't want anybody who's leading with how awesome their house is. Although one of my guys, he had women targeting him because he's listed as a CEO of a major company. He has 500 employees, and he wanted me to see his lifestyle. Okay. And I'm like, okay, I don't. I don't like that. I don't need to know his son's room has a Chihuly lamp hanging from the ceiling.
Okay,
That doesn't get me a better date. If you want that date, go to the W and find the girl you want to give half your assets to and just leave me alone. Because you're asking for a divorce.
So
if I have to lead with your money, that's not the girl I'm going to get you.
Wow, this has gone. We're even over our time. It's gone so quickly. But let's, I guess, end with: are there some quality? I don't know. Just a general question about qualities that people are looking right now. I guess both of you. I don't know. Are there certain qualities? What's the best way, other than hiring you, because they can do that, for somebody to find somebody else? What do they have to do? They have to prove some things with themselves? Do they have to?
I'm creating a class, so if anybody wants to know about it, I'm going to put it on the website.
Right.
But I want them to go deeper than they've ever gone before, because children that you haven't had yet with this person you haven't met yet are counting on you not to come to a day where your son or your daughter has to pack their things to go to your husband's or wife's place. And I want to lower the divorce rate. And I want you to ask yourself more questions of, how does this look 5 years from now? How does he treat other people? The red flags. What are the red flags that you've seen but said, oh, that's okay because he's got these 5 other things I like? Those red flags are going to come and bite you in the butt.
Okay.
And they really become resentments, and they build. They don't. If you have them in the courtship, they get exponential in marriage.
Okay, and any thoughts from you about anything that, just be honest, what would you say to guys who are looking right now, or I guess women too? I mean, what do you think are the big qualities that are important?
I would say kind of making sure that for me, I'll speak for me.
Yeah.
For me, I made it very, very a priority to make sure that I fully love myself first and make sure that I take care of myself and find out all the things that I really enjoy and like and all my hobbies, and make sure that I don't divert from those just because I want to try to be with someone else. So, just taking care of me and, letting it happen naturally and don't force anything.
Well, wasn't it Runaway Bride where she falls over, they're going to go get married on Everest, and her backpack makes Julia hit the floor. And she didn't know what kind of eggs she liked because she was always going with the eggs that the guy liked.
Yeah. Okay, so that's something that you would also recommend, I guess, as a female. Don't just cater to everything that the guy wants.
Be who you are so that he can love you. Yeah. Okay,
that's been great, and it went again really quickly. Tiara Terry, Better Business Bureau, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
We'll see you in the office. And Roseann Higgins, it's been great. You're the founder of SPIES, Single Professional Introductions for the Especially Selective. How'd you come up with that name? I like the last, Especially Selective.
In the Navy, I didn't know anything about marketing, so I picked up every marketing book that I could get my hands on, and they seem to say you should have a short title of your business, but you should say what you do specifically in it. And in the Navy, we love acronyms in all the military, So SPIES, I actually had PI first, Professional Introductions and Events. And then I'm like, it doesn't say who it's for. Available, a PI, no. Single, SPIES.
Yeah.
Boom.
It's stuck.
And we're on the lookout for the love of your life.
There you go.
We still are. And it still excites me every single time I meet somebody like, Joe, I am counting on you because now you know me and I know you. Joe knows better.
That's great. We got to get that out there. Joe knows better. You're right. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for being here. Yeah. Before hiring, go to bbb.org, check reviews, and for accredited businesses that agree to operate ethically. And see all my podcasted videos, joeknowsbetter.bbbcommunity.org. I'm Joe Ducey with the Better Business Bureau, helping consumers and businesses get it right.